Hello everyone. Welcome. It is Friday, June 26, 2020. I am back at the Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And behind me is Pikes Peak, right over there, and some other mountain on top of my head. It's interesting, the cloud cover is, they have different clouds today. It's like, I don't know, haziness, temperatures supposed to be 80, I think, and then it's supposed to cool down. So they're not puffy clouds like they were yesterday. Yep. So anyway, welcome Tina Marie Kirkpatrick from Texas. Welcome Joy Avila from Indiana. Welcome April Birchmeyer from, I believe, Michigan, if I'm correct. Welcome to people all over the place. Happy Friday. It's the weekend. Yay. Get to do some ministry tomorrow night, 6:30 at Faith Chapel Church. The Wild Branch Ministry will be hosting a breakthrough night. Yay. Looking forward to getting people having some major breakthroughs, getting healed from their past soul wounds, and be able to have breakthroughs in physical pains in their body and have a lot more joy, a lot more laughter, a lot more fun, a lot more childlike innocence being restored. Just lots of great stuff happens when we come out of agreement with the enemy, when we get freed from the enemy's crap that he did to us in our past. You know, when we realize and recognize that the enemy is the enemy, not our dad, not our mom, not our husband or wife or exes, all that stuff. It's a whole bunch of enemy junk that causes us to get hurt when we're younger, and then as we grow up, we still operate out of that pain. So that's what the goal of Restored to Freedom is, to truly restore people back to freedom. You know, if we didn't have to be hurt by people, we wouldn't have any demonic influences in our lives. You know, you just think about that. That's why when people grow up and they have a really good, loving father and mother, then more often than not, they're going to have a lot less issues to deal with in life. But how many of us had that? You know, nobody had a perfect dad or mom. You know, nobody did. When we get hurt, there's sexual stuff that happens to us. So anyway, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. In fact, I'll share this tonight. I just got a call right before I started from my good friend Doug Sneed from the River House in Jacksonville, Florida, where I'll be at September 25th, 26th, doing ministry. And he said, "So what are you doing tonight, Nelson?" And I'm like, "Well, why?" I'm like, actually, I've got tonight off and open, and I treasure having nights off and open because oftentimes weekends I don't have them. So anyway, he's like, "Hey, we having a roundtable discussion, and one of the people that were on there, I think it's his wife or something, getting ready to have a baby, whatever. So." Or not feeling well, something like that. So they asked me, "Hey, would you be willing to join?" And I'm like, I think I can do that. So anyway, it's going to be cool because we're going to be talking about what God's saying to each of us, what's going to happen between now and the end of the year, 2020. So I love, that topic because I do have a whole lot of stuff the Lord's been showing me about what's going to happen. A lot of cleansing the Lord's going to be doing. A lot of people who have need of getting their soul wounds healed are going to get them one way or the other. Either they're going to willingly repent and God's going to bless them greatly, or if they resist and they continue to operate in these wounds and stuff, and again, there's people that are not even close to being Christians that are in politics and government and so forth. The Lord's cleaning house and justice is going to be served. So anyway, lots of stuff God's in the process of doing, and he's using people here on earth, you and I, to do his work. So anyway, good stuff. So Pikes Peak, again, is right there, 14,000 feet up. There's like 54 mountains in Colorado that are 14,000 feeters. That's a long ways up. I drove to the top of that, but I've never hiked it. I was going to hike it actually yesterday, but glad that I didn't because they had a bunch of thunderstorms that came in. That's the biggest concern, is once you get above the tree line, people get hit by lightning, or they can, and that's not a good thing. So I'm glad that I didn't. I feel much better. I did walk for probably 3 hours yesterday, afternoon, evening. I love to exercise, love to, that's how you stay in shape, obviously. You can't just sit around and I know some people get wounded from fathers and mothers in sexual violations when they're growing up, and that affects them the rest of their life. If they still have anger and bitterness and stuff inside of them, then that's how the enemy has legal right to get a lot of sickness and disease and stuff in our bodies, is because we still have anger and bitterness that's within our minds and our hearts. And then the root of bitterness gets to continue to grow, and we have all these thoughts from the demons that say, keep hating them, keep hating them. Your dad, your mom, your brother, your sister, all these bad people did so many bad things, the pastor. And when you do that, then you come in alignment with the enemy. And then you're not going to have peace, you're not going to have joy, you're not going to have good health. You're going to not be able to go for walks when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s. And it's not a good life. It's death. And I don't want people to have that. I want people to get freed and enjoy life and go for hikes. I love hiking. I love it. I love being around nature and going into the mountains and seeing what God's going to do to surprise me. In fact, what God surprised me with this week is the #1 video that's being watched this week is not any of my Facebook Lives that I've done, teachings, but deer on Sunday night. I think it's got like 4,700 views or something of these 5 deer, which that in itself is kind of crazy, because I was on my way to do a training of my RTF deliverance team, and I saw this deer on Vindicator Drive, and just noticed the deer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right there next to the street. What is this deer doing? And so I drove on, did my Facebook live teaching, and then I went for a hike. And then as I was driving back, I saw the deer still there. And I'm like, what is the deer? Oh dear, what is the deer doing right next to the street? You could get hurt, could get hit by a car. And so I passed it. I pulled into a grocery store, waited, and I sensed the Lord said, go back, go back. I'm like, really? I'm like, I don't know. I want to go back to my hotel. Nope, go back to the deer. So I drove back to where the deer was. The deer was no longer there. This time there were 5 deer that were grazing on grass next to this couple of houses, or condos or whatever, right off the street. And I'm like, well, that's nuts. What are they doing right there? And then eventually I did a video of them, posted it, and then after I posted the video, I saw one of the bigger deers chasing one of the smaller deers away. And that smaller deer was taking off as fast as it could because it was afraid of the bigger deer. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you guys striving? Why are you fighting? Do you guys have father wounds, mother wounds, sexual violations? Oh dear, they need healed. But the Lord kind of tied everything together about the streets that I saw, the Deliverance Street sign in Colorado Springs, and then I saw the Vindicator Street sign, and then I saw the deer, and then I saw the rainbow, and how God said when you get delivered, the Lord will be your vindicator. He will end up promoting you. He will end up putting you on a path in the midst of your enemies, if they've not gotten delivered yet, to show them, hello, make them maybe healthily jealous of what the Lord's doing in your life, and saying, well, you could do it in your life too, but you have to humble yourself, you have to forgive people, we have to go through the process of deliverance. And then God will really bless us, because He wants to do that. He wants to give us good things, and health is one of the blessings that I am walking in now since 2009, 11 straight years of not taking any Tylenol, ibuprofen, anything, nothing. And the Lord said, as long as you align yourself with me and you're living a life with the fruit of the Spirit, doesn't mean I'm perfect, because I'm not. I slip up here and there, and I need to repent when I do that and ask for forgiveness. And I may have to go to other people and say, please forgive me, I made a mistake, and that's what we need to do. And then the Lord can keep us clean. It's like washing our car. We have to wash the car periodically because we get dirty. And that's the same principle in life, is people are going to say things and do things to try to hurt us. We have to forgive them. If we end up getting angry, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what they said and did, and then you go out and rant and rage on Facebook for weeks and months, and then people know, hello, you don't have your soul wounds healed. Hello, demons are going to have legal rights to torment your mind. And you may have a sickbed experience as the Lord's trying to get your attention to forgive and stuff. So anyway, today's topic is people with demons want to waste your time and exhaust you. Just say no. And again, I have a heart and compassion for anyone that's dealing with demons, again, because most people are hearing from demons, whether they want to admit it or not. Most people in the church are being afflicted by demonic spirits in their mind, in their thoughts. That's how demons work. And then if you end up listening to them long enough, you'll end up being angry and doing sexual things that are perverse, and being jealous and envious, and going off on people, and having all the fruit of the flesh and not fruit of the Spirit. And if you want to become a part of the bride of Christ truly and become part of the remnant, we have to go through the deliverance process. You have to. That's the only way you can do it. You have to forgive people. That's the process. Forgive them. And I remember when I started the ministry, I'm like, hello, just forgive the people that hurt you. You know, I did it. I had some people that hurt me really, really, really bad, one in particular, and I forgave her the whole time. And so I would keep myself clean. So just forgive. And then I noticed that a lot of people couldn't do that. They would say that they would forgive the people, but then in their hearts of hearts, they didn't. They still had anger and resentment and bitterness in there. And so the enemy knows if you've truly forgiven or not, and so does the Lord. And when we have truly forgiven, when we have humbled ourselves from the pride that comes in, when we have repented for our own sin, we really mean it, then we get to have the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, you know, the good things that the Lord wants to have for us. But when people are told about this and saying, okay, you got to be honest, you can't lie, you can't put all the blame on everybody else and want people to have a pity party for you, because if you do that, you're not going to get freed. And we see a lot of people that are in that stage of their lives where they resist being honest. They lie about the things they've done, and they lie and embellish about what things other people have done to them. And so, unfortunately, demons have legal right to continue to be on them and to hurt them. And what happens is they are toxic to be around. They will say things and do things to hurt you. And if you have a lot of interaction with them, and you do that over and over and over, you will be hurt by them. So the safest thing, obviously, is to just say no and to stay away. Love them from afar. But how do you do that? There was like a flying worm. That was weird. Oh my goodness. It was like a yellowish little thing. Anyway, knocked it down on some kind of web or something. I don't know. It was like a worm spider. Anyways, you know, the healthiest thing is to stay away from people that are toxic. Just say no. Get out of Dodge. And pray for them from afar. Love them from afar. And I know it's extremely hard when you're married to someone like that, because all the demons want to do is to go off on you and blame you for everything and exhaust you. And they really, seems like, at least in my life, I noticed when it got to be evening time, when I was ready to go to bed, is the manifestations would start on them. And they would want to go on and on and on for 5 hours, 6 hours. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. Can you just recognize that you're getting hit by the enemy and you're spewing forth toxic crap that I don't want to listen to? Because all it's going to do is wear me down, make me say things and provoke me to say things that I normally wouldn't say, only because I'm tired. How many times have you guys ever experienced that? You know, and I remember before I got delivered, I would like to start arguments and strife and provoke people too. That's what the demons want to do. So, and the reasons why is because, aha, I'm getting a rise out of my victim. I can control them. Ah, I can make them lose their peace. Ah, and there's a demonic feel-good sense from that. So you see a lot of people out there, you know, you see it in politics all the time with what the people are saying and doing to Trump, trying to provoke him and lying about things. And oftentimes, you know, Trump will respond and tweet and so forth. And, you know, my heart goes out to him, because it's like, man, nobody on earth is getting pummeled every single day more with twisting of truth and all this Jezebel activity, you know. So hopefully one day I can meet him and let him know about Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, and connect the dots, you know. And I know I've had a couple dreams where I have talked to him and Melania, and gotten the tour of the White House. I had 2 different dreams and had lunch with them once. So that would be awesome. I would love to do that. That would be so cool. And then maybe together, united, we can actually make the whole world be aware of this. Hello, there are demons out there, and this is how it looks when you manifest. You get mean, you get angry, you lie, you have a tone, you go on and on for hours, you're not at peace, and you can't stand people who are blessed and have peace either. It's going to make their lives miserable. All right, so that was a extended preamble before I start reading the blog. Again, I've been writing regular blogs now for a couple of weeks. I still don't like writing, but I know that it's helping because a lot of times people don't like to watch an hour video where they can read things on their own time, which I get that. So anyway, here comes some people hiking. I am off a little bit from the path. Oh good, they're going a different way. Yes! So anyway, I'm up here at Garden of the Gods. The Rocky Mountains are behind me, Pikes Peak right there. And it's a perfect day right now. Right now the sun's got some clouds covering it, and it's like, I don't know, 77 degrees, something like that. All right, so I'm gonna read my blog, and then I will dive down. And again, the focus of the blog is about people who refuse to get delivered, you know, because again, I have a heart and compassion for those who are trying to, as best they can, trying to save their marriage, trying to save the relationships that they have. Oh my gosh, there goes a woman with a baby on the back of her. Maybe even two babies, I don't know. She's got a huge backpack thingy on. Oh my gosh, I was thinking about that the other day. You know, if I were to climb to the top of Pikes Peak, I would have to have a whole bunch of water bottles or Camelback water there with protein bars in order to make it all the way up there, and that would probably weigh another 20 pounds, you know. But I'm like, she's carrying a baby on the back of her. Kudos to, in fact, I remember once climbing with my good friend Dan Workman over, we were actually west of Bethel, west of Redding, before they had the fire and stuff that burned everything down. But we were hiking back to a waterfall, and he was getting kind of worn out, and we kept asking people, how much farther? 20 minutes. And then like 20 minutes later, we'd walk, how much farther? 20 minutes. And then we'd walk another 20 minutes, ask another person, how much farther? Oh, about 20 minutes. And so he's like, he was really getting exhausted. And then when we finally got there to the waterfall, there was a lady that had a baby on her back, and she had hiked the whole thing, and he was just like, man, I feel so out of shape and bad. I'm like, yes. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and read the blog. Okay, in my ministry of deliverance since 2015, that's when I started. I transferred out of the corporate business world into ministry in 2015. I didn't start doing it full-time until 2017. So it was a process, and I really appreciate people who do ministry full-time, who have the Father's heart and love in them and want to help people and don't make it about themselves. Don't make it about putting guilt trips on people to give money, you know. And I believe, I'll just speak this, as I believe the Lord is in the process of cleansing the people in ministry, you know, those who have manipulated people and schmoozed with people and made it about themselves and not about the Lord and about the souls, made it about money and stuff. The Lord is in the process of giving them a wake-up call, saying enough is enough is enough is enough. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. You know, yeah, when you're in full-time ministry, you know, I rely on people's donations in large part, and I also have some books. And of course, when I come and speak, you know, free will donations. Oh, here comes a dog. Oh my gosh. I think it's gonna say hi to me. Maybe, I don't know, he's walking off that way. There's an owner with 2 dogs, and he's like off of his leash. Now he's calling him back. Maybe they're not gonna. Anyways, I believe the Lord's in the process of shutting down some people from ministries where they need to humble themselves. They need to make some changes in their lives in order to become more pure, more godly, you know. And I get it, I get it, I get it. I never wanted to do this, you know, period. So, hello. It's going awesome.
Beautiful view.
Oh my gosh, and it's beautiful temperatures too. Here comes some more hikers. Oh my gosh, there's more than, maybe because it's Friday. Last time I got off the beaten path a little further, but now people can actually see me, so. All right, so. So anyway, in my ministry of deliverance since 2015, I've become very familiar with people who genuinely want to be emotionally healed from their past wounds and delivered from the demons tormenting their mind and body. You know, I've seen them, you've seen them, a lot of you are following. They're like, you know, I want to be freed. And oftentimes it is a process. When you start the process, you know, I do these worldwide deliverance sessions once a month, doing one on Sunday, in fact. There, perfect timing to remind people. This Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, we'll be doing the next worldwide deliverance session. And it's the goal of that is to introduce people to the fact of how wounds turn into allowing demons to torment them in their thoughts, and then that can come in to give us physical pains in our body, and how it all works. And then I take people through the deliverance and have a soul wound healing session. So the goal of that is to get people set free and delivered, but I understand that it's going to oftentimes take people weeks or months to truly be freed from the past. There's been people who have been following me for 3 years, and they're way, you know, better off now than what they were 3 years ago. There's some that have been following for a year. And there's a lot of people, when I take them through the deliverance sessions, they'll yawn. That is like the most common thing that I've seen, is yawning, you know, and we can deal with yawning. I don't want to see vomiting. I don't want to be seeing people barking like dogs and slithering like snakes. That's demons causing them to manifest, you know. So that's how you know when people are manifesting, is they're barking like dogs or slithering like snakes. They're meowing like cats. So they're vomiting like vomiters, you know, whatever. And thank God, because I told the Lord, if I'm going to do a deliverance ministry, even though I don't want to, I'm like, it better be normal. It better be like the businessman's version of deliverance, because I come from a businessman background. I used to sell software to banks and talk to bank presidents and had to wear suits and ties, and I hated that stuff. That's why I don't wear suits and ties anymore. I wear golf shirts and hiking shirts, and I'm wearing shorts right now, you know, and so I like to be comfortable. Anyway, those who truly want and desire to be freed, it can take a process. And it normally does. Why? Because it's taken you maybe 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years to get to where you're at. And you can imagine how many wounds you've gotten from however many people. And if we've not truly forgiven them, then it just compounds. You have more demons reminding you of all the bad things people did to you. Oh my gosh, I got sexually touched. I was abused here. I was hurt by my dad, by my mom, by the pastor, by the pastor's wife, you know, by the worship leader, by the intercessor leader, by the deliverance people, all these people. I'm smelling. I think somebody's smoking marijuana. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know what? I had never smelled marijuana until I played softball with my son-in-law, or stepson, my stepson. And I never smelled the smell of marijuana before. We were playing softball with a whole bunch of other people that weren't Christians, and these people were smoking marijuana. And I'm like, what is that smell? That's such a unique smell. And he goes, you don't know what that is? I'm like, no. He goes, that's pot. And I'm like, what? Really? And I'm like, so ever since I smelled that, I'm like, man, I'm going to be on to it the next time I smell that. So, wow, are we having fun or not here? You know, again, I'm not religious, just to let you guys know, because I never wanted to do this ministry. I didn't want to do any ministry. So, hello, Joy Avila from Northern Indiana. Yay. So, and I'll be coming back to Indiana probably in July. Seeing how well, I don't know, we'll see. I think I will. I have to be July 19th in Ohio at Eagles Nest International Church. Just to let everybody know, I might be going to Texas, maybe, we'll see, in the coming weeks before I get to go to Ohio, so we will see. Alrighty, so those who continue to press in and are honest will own their own issues of needing to work through forgiveness of those who hurt them and pride issues and repentance for the sin that they have done. You know, we see a lot of people that pursue that, and as they pursue that and they want that, they eventually get it. You know, the Lord wants to reward us with being freed. He doesn't want us to be tormented forever, but it's up to us. We're the one that has the key to that. We're the ones that can truly forgive people who hurt us for the bad things and damaging things that they said and did to us. And if we won't do that, then the Lord's like, hello, I can't do what I want to do in your life. I can't get you freed from the tormenting thoughts of the demons in your mind, up to 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And let's face it, you know, I had, who was a lady I was talking to yesterday, was describing some of the thoughts she was hearing from the demons. And she's like, yeah, I was getting these thoughts. I couldn't sleep well at night. I'm like, yeah, you were letting the demons speak to you. She goes, you think those were demons? I'm like, well, hello, yeah. You know, all you're getting is condemning thoughts. That's sure not coming from the Lord. She's like, well, I couldn't stop it. I'm like, yeah. I go, because you've been hurt. You've been hurt in your past. You still have, you need to ask Jesus to come and speak to you and give you a word. You give you why did my dad, you know, whatever, leave me? Why did my stepdad hurt me? Why did this happen? Let Jesus give you a word, and then when you get that word, you can then understand how to forgive them. And when you forgive them, bam, no more legal rights for the demons to torment you about that wound. That wound's now been healed. You can talk about it without having a whole bunch of thoughts and anger and bitterness. All right, so I'm also familiar with people who struggle greatly to be honest. Again, if people lie about things in their life, then that will allow the enemy to have legal right to keep tormenting them. So I'm familiar with people who struggle greatly to be honest and do not want to let go of their demons, who then want to waste our time and exhaust us or make us feel sorry for them or threaten us. This blog is written today. Actually, I wrote it yesterday. But this blog that I'm talking about today is written specifically about those who are making a conscious decision to not change and to keep the demons that torment them so that they can hurt others. Again, there's a lot of people who are in that situation where you have a spouse that you love, that you want to be married to, but they're still tormented by the demons in their minds, and they're coming after you. And when you give them the option and share with them about either my ministry, or I know Dominic Herbst has got an awesome ministry, Restoring Relationships. Hello, Dominic, I see you on there. Also, my good friend Scott Pitcon, who's taking a little bit of a breather right now from doing, what does he do? He does like 10 deliverances every week for 20 some years. And he's going to start focusing on psychologists and trying to get them to understand how to do this so we can actually broaden and get more people delivered, which is great. I just love that. So anyway, there are people who legitimately don't want to get set free. Why? Because they have a lot of anger and bitterness still in their hearts, and they won't repent. They won't humble themselves. They won't be honest. So there's a lot of people who are married to people that are like that, that are being pummeled by verbal abuse, by physical abuse, by sexual abuse, but most of it's going to be emotional abuse. And a lot of these people are in the church, calling themselves Christians, but yet behaving everything other. Boy, there's a lot of hikers today. This must be Hikers Day to come to Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. All right. So I have talked to literally thousands of people who have had so much of their time wasted as they have come to experience that these people they were loving on and trying to help did not actually want to be set free from their demons, but only wanted to argue and strive and cry and get their sympathy and prey upon them to give them money. I see this a lot of times. We see this on Facebook, social media and stuff, where people who are struggling, getting freed, hearing the voices of the enemy, will write these social media posts and or do Facebook Lives where they are like crying and trying to get sympathy and trying to get money out of people. And that's not right. That's not Jesus. Jesus wouldn't do that, you know? That's how you can tell people are still wounded in their souls. They have not gotten healed yet. Is because who does that? Well, people who are still wounded, who are trying to get people to feel sorry for them. And oftentimes they embellish their stories of abuse, you know, because they're like, gee. In fact, there's one woman, said that she had lost her baby because she said her husband had abused her. Well, she said that she lost, ultimately, the last time I heard about her story was 17 babies. And I'm thinking, what? Who in the world would ever go have 17 miscarriages with one guy and stay with him because they're abusing them? I'm like, I'm pretty darn sure you would probably say, I gotta leave after, I don't know, the third one, maybe, but 17. And so what happens is the enemy convinces people, well, gee, if I'm gonna share the story, if one time of abuse or losing of a child is good, 5 would be even more impressive. I get more sympathy probably for that. And maybe if I stretch it to like 10, oh my gosh, I could get a lot more money that way from people. Or maybe if I said 17, yes, that's the perfect number, 17. So I see that, you know. And again, I'm learning as I go. I've only been doing this ministry, again, 5 years. And every time I get amazed by more of experiences and or testimonies from people that are just so embellished. And it's just like, really? You think people are going to believe that? Well, the demons convince them. Oh yeah, and I can even have some tears come up and start crying and get a whole bunch of people to give me a whole bunch of money. You know, that's how I see a lot of people, and God's not in that. God's gonna, you know, again, give them to the Lord. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. There's a lot of these people that are wounded will say, vengeance is me, saith me. And they will go after and target you and try to lie about you and hurt you. Oh my gosh, that breeze feels so good. It's like perfect weather out here. All right, people who have been hurt as a child, father and mother wounds are the most common ways, but they can be hurt by anybody. You know, you could have a sleepover over at a pastor's house, and then the pastor could molest you, or the pastor's son, or wife, or teachers, or anyone. There's equal opportunity abusers, hurters out there all over the place. Sexual improprieties. You know, it's impossible really not to have some type of improper sexual thing shown to us. You know, internet. I mean, my gosh, you can not even go there on your computer and then have some ads or whatever. You know, oftentimes the spam should catch those, but you can imagine sexual things that you see, you know, just driving down the streets. Again, if you go to Las Vegas, which I don't like going to Las Vegas, but it's interesting, the Lord took me there right after COVID started shutting things down. And when the Lord said, go down to the strip and walk down the strip. It'll be the cleanest strip you've ever seen in your life. So I go down to the strip, I start walking down there, and sure enough, everybody's clothed. All the women are wearing clothes. And there's very few people down there, but I'm seeing families like riding bikes and skateboarding together and enjoying life in a pure godly way. And I'm thinking, my gosh, where have all the bad people have gone? And the Lord's like, I'm cleansing. I am exposing the people doing sin and doing the evil stuff, and I'm cleansing that. And I believe that's what he's going to be doing, you know, throughout the end of this year. He's cleansing the church, people in church who are actively involved in doing evil things and perverse things and sexual things. The Lord's calling it out. The Lord's exposing it now. It is time to become the pure and spotless bride, because there's too many people in the church that say they're Christians and they're not. And they're not even on their way to heaven, you know. And some of them can try to cast out demons in Jesus' name and prophesy. You know, there's a lot of people that are prophetic that need to get delivered so that they're truly set free and saved, because a lot of them, you know, are prideful because, oh my gosh, I can prophesy over you, and yet they're a mess inside, you know. And the Lord knows the truth. The Lord looks at the heart, looks at the mind. He knows it. You know, we can't lie. The hikers are out. It's Hikers Day, yay! In Garden of the Gods. All right, let me go back. So, people who have been hurt as a child, had not had their soul wounds healed yet, or delivered, can often behave in angry, stubborn ways like a spoiled child. Some would call them brats. They throw adult temper tantrums, raise their voice, have a tone, lie about you, and expect to get their way. As people usually give in to them to save themselves an hour or more of time listening to them argue and strive. I get that. I know what that's like. I mean, if you tend to give in to the person, I mean, I went through thousands of these opportunities to observe, is I knew when my ex-wife would say something that if I didn't do what she wanted, she would start to go off, and it would maybe for a few hours. And if I would say yes to everything, even though I knew that it wasn't the best decision, it would save myself an argument. So that's what happens, is the demonic spirits in a person knows that if they get mad and angry and tolerate or have a temper tantrum, then they're going to get their way. And you see that with what's going on with Trump. Trump is like not saying yes to the people that are getting mad and yelling and screaming. And they don't know what to do with that, because they're like, wait a minute, we always get our way when we yell and scream, and now we're not. What? He's going to actually maybe put us in jail for throwing bricks and rioting? Oh my gosh, he can't do that. He's so racist. He's so this and that. And it's just like, really? Maybe he's trying to actually have a semblance of justice in this world, and maybe you need to get your wounds healed and delivered. Yeah, maybe, you think? I think so. You know, obviously, abuse of anybody is wrong, you know, whether it's whatever skin color on whatever skin color, you know, it's wrong. Abuse is wrong, and we need to hold people accountable for that, absolutely, positively. You know, people need to get their soul wounds healed and get delivered. So, alrighty, so they throw adult temper tantrums, raise their voice, have a tone, lie about you, expect to get their way, as people usually give in to them to save themselves an hour or more of time listening to them argue and strive. Their alternate personality, again, when we get wounded in the past, what happens is there's an alternate personality. There's a part of our soul, which is our mind, will, and emotions, that gets kind of slivered off, and we form this alternate personality. So whenever we get triggered over something that was very similar to what we went through and got hurt from when we were younger, we have an alternate personality. That's why people oftentimes have a dark color in their eyes, they have a tone, they get really angry. They're not normally themselves. They become a different person. It's because those demonic spirits are speaking to them real things that are causing them to take an offense, to be jealous, to get angry over stupid things, you know, ridiculous things, and they over freak out, basically. I don't know if that's a term, a psychology term, overly freaking out, but that's what they do. And that's because they have an alternate personality that still is got demons in it tormenting them. And they need to get the wounds healed from their past by asking Jesus to come heal them, give them a word, and then command the demons to go that attach to the wounds. And then they're at peace all the time. They don't lose their peace. You know, I can just speak from experience. I used to get triggered up until I went through deliverance in 2008. The end of 2008, the Lord delivered me supernaturally. And I was so much different. I was like at peace, like almost all the time. And I was gentle and I was loving. And when my oldest son would say or something, do something that was out there, I could be calm. I wouldn't go off anymore. And I'm like, wow, who am I? How did I become this way? And it was because the Lord had supernaturally taken that stuff out and delivered me from it. So it was amazing. There goes another hiker. There's a lot of hikers out here today. All right, so their alternate personality is rearing its ugly head and is full of demons, telling them to behave this way. Unfortunately, they are ungrateful, selfish, and feel entitled. Do you know anyone that's been entitled, feel like they're entitled to everything? We have a whole society of people that are feeling that they're entitled to everything. And all they have to do is get mad and yelling and screaming and get angry and threaten, and then they get their way. Yep, that's what it's all about. So they're entitled that they should get everything that they want just because they want it. So psychologists would call those people narcissists. And oftentimes they say, oh, there's no hope for them, there's no medication for them. You know, they're selfish, they're enamored with themselves, they're controlling, manipulative, prideful, arrogant. They're nasty people. Well, you got to separate the people from the demons. It's the demons that are causing them to do that because they got hurt when they grew up. That's how you become a narcissist, is you have a person that really hurts you deeply, like your father, like your mother, like your stepfather, stepmother. You may get sexually touched by your brother, by your sister, by other people. And that's what gives legal access to demons, to have legal rights to come in and torment you, is going through painful experiences from traumas from the past. So I have a heart for people that would be considered narcissists. But those who have had, who've been a part of any narcissist support group, there's a lot of people that have anger and bitterness and hatefulness towards them. I don't have any anger, hatred towards people that would be considered narcissists. I have compassion because I know truly how they got that way. And that's how we should look at them as well. But it doesn't mean that we should be tolerating their abuse and be around them every day. Because if we are, we're going to get hurt. You know, I can't have somebody yell at me for 5 or 6 hours in an ungodly way, because eventually I'm going to either say something back to them I'm not going to want to say, or you want to get a gun and kill yourself because the demons keep tormenting you because of this, whatever, your relationship that you had. So you need to get away from them. You need to get away. So we see a lot of people today in society who expect to get anything they want, and when people say no, they throw a fit and they threaten them and they act like a spoiled brat. We are seeing a lot of that today when people of authority tell them no, and then they manifest demonically on them and act crazy, selfish, and accuse people of things that are not true to turn others against them so they can control them to make them do what they want. Here come some hikers and they're wearing a mask. Oh my gosh, that is just the most bizarre concept in the world to me. Why would you wear a mask when you're hiking? It's really hard to do that. So, I mean, it's hard enough to wear it inside of a church and try to worship. Oh my gosh, it's got a full-on mask too. Oh, anyway. So there are people in all walks of life who simply want to waste your time. They want to exhaust you. They want to get something for nothing and will accuse you of lies and try to make your life hell. So what should you do with people like this? Again, I'm talking about people who refuse to see that they have issues with them. You know, oftentimes you want to just get a mirror and put the mirror up to their face and say, there's your problem, it's you. And you need to repent, and you need to forgive people who hurt you. You need to repent for your pride. And then guess what? All these demonic voices that are tormenting your thoughts, causing you to blame everybody else in the world for your problems, will be gone. The voices will be gone, and you can actually have peace. So, wow, there's like 25 people. They're having like a party here. Party on Garden of the Gods, party. But not all of them are wearing masks. Maybe 5 of them are. So, anyways, life. It's so much fun to enjoy life now instead of being all abused. All right, so what should you do with people that I always say this, go to the person that's being mean and abusing and give them a chance. The Lord wants to give them a chance to hear the truth. So what I would do is either give them the book, Restored to Freedom. That pretty much explains it. Jezebel, Leviathan, Legion, how it all works with the wounds growing up and how you operate in hearing those voices. That's a good start. Again, they might get mad at you, take an offense. Oh well, you give them a chance. Give them a chance to get freed. Also, we have videos on YouTube. You can go out to Nelson Schumann 67, which is my channel, and we have testimonies from men, from women, from couples who struggled with those spirits. And oftentimes when a person hears the testimony, it clicks with them. They're like, oh my gosh, that's me. They're describing me. That's how I was. That's how I am. And so you want to give the person the chance, you know, to at least get the truth. Or they could watch some of the videos on YouTube, the teachings that I do. If at that point, though, they refuse and they want to keep blaming you for everything, then the best thing to do is to part, to separate. Because then at that point, you're going to at least feel peace like you've probably never felt it for the entire time you've had the relationship with them. And it feels so good not to get yelled at. It feels so good not to be controlled and manipulated and gone off on for hours every day. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. And then at that point, they have their own decision to make because they have a free will to either choose to admit the truth about themselves and to do the work that it takes to get freed and to be delivered, or they might choose to move on. Anyway, you end up winning because you're at peace. And now you can do what the Lord calls you to do. You can actually do your calling. You know, again, it could be just, you know, helping out a church locally. It could be leading a small group. It could be singing in the choir when you were in a relationship with this person and they wouldn't let you do it because they would control, because the demons in them would shut you down. You know, I had to end up separating, didn't want a divorce, and my wife ended up divorcing. She couldn't be honest, you know, and now she's not, I don't know what she's doing, but she's not impacting the people that she could have had she chosen to be honest, and then could have traveled around the world and gotten people set free, you know. And oftentimes people will get prophetic words spoken over them that sound great and good and everything, but it's precipitated upon them getting delivered. Because you can imagine, if you're operating in these demonic spirits and you're controlling people and you're prideful and you're arrogant and you're mean, God's not going to say, okay, great, now you can start leading people to become more like you. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to humble yourself. You have to forgive people. You have to change. You have to have fruit of the Spirit evident in your life and not fruit of the flesh. The Lord can't really use you when you got a fruit of the flesh going on, when you're selfish and jealous and you're doing sexual things that are perverse and evil. So deliverance is going to cause people to truly become the bride of Christ. So much more peaceful. You're not getting 50,000 thoughts a day in your mind from the enemy, 80% of them negative, and tormenting other people. It's such a great life. You get to enjoy life. So again, what should you do with people like this? Simply just say no and walk away and have nothing to do with them. You can call it loving them from afar or from the balcony. They do not have any desire to change or get along with you. They want to wear you out and make your life miserable. Again, the demons in them want to do that. So the best thing to do is to separate yourself from them and do what God is calling you to do. So always ask the Lord to confirm, to give you a word, give you dreams. You know, I never tell anybody to divorce anybody, but I do say, you know, separation is a healthy thing to do, because at least you break down the immediate attacks that happen to you all the time. I mean, I know it. I've been through it a couple times, and it's not fun. You know, once you separate, at least you've got the peace. You know, yes, they may still text you and call you, and if you get on the phone call and they treat you horribly and they go off on you, then you're going to have to say goodbye. Do not tolerate abuse. And so many of us have tolerated it for so long, it's become the norm. That's why what you see with President Trump, he's standing up now to the abusers, those that had taken control of this world, and he's saying no. And they're like throwing adult temper tantrums at him, getting all mad and angry. And it's just amazing. And some of those people are from the church. So let's call the truth the truth. All right, so never engage with a person whose demons are manifesting in them verbally, because you can never reason with a demon or a person being influenced by the demons. You can't. You cannot have you'll go crazy trying to logically explain to them. I mean, I know oftentimes you feel like you need to record them, and sometimes you do. So you can play it back for a person when you're going to counseling and saying, listen, this is how they are to me. You wouldn't believe how horrible that they are to me, because they act all sweet and nice, you know, in front of you, but not behind closed doors. They sure don't. So anyway, they are much, much better, the demons are, at verbal battles for hours and hours and twisting what was said and making you out to be the bad guy or the bad girl. So you are much better off just getting away from them and cutting off all communication to be able to keep your peace on. All right. If you let them text, and this is really good. This is, again, the Lord gave me this yesterday when I was writing this. If you let them text, email, or call you, and then you actually read or listen to what they say, then they will affect your peace, as their demons know how to work you over in your mind. Once you read or hear what they say, then basically the demons will affect your thoughts by having you think over and over again what they wrote or what they said, which will then cause you to lose your peace and get you into fear or worry or anger or jealousy, and it will be a total waste of your time and exhaust you. And that's so true. And when people will send me something that I know starts off in a negative, evil, demonic way, I will refuse to read the rest of it. You know, I've had people that have threatened me. Oh, I'm going to say this about you and that about you. And I'm like, I turn it off. I will not read it. I will delete it. Why would I listen to a demon? Why would I listen to a person that's listening to demons? I won't. I refuse to. So go ahead, threaten all day long, but you're not going to steal the peace that the Lord has upon me. I will continue to do what the Lord wants me to do, and I will end up benefiting from that. And so that's a huge action for all that are watching this, is do not read the text, do not read emails, do not listen to the voicemails that they'll leave for you, because all it will do is the demons are so smart at threatening you, saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go over your head and tell this person and that person if you don't do what I want. So if you don't even read it, you don't even know what the demons are saying to you, and you have a great day. You can go hiking on the weekends and enjoy yourself. You can go to the park. So that's a game-changing tactic that I highly, highly, highly recommend, that I use in my own life. Of course, I deal with people that have demons all the time. So the other thing I'll say, this just kind of came to me, is that people who will try to be like your best friend and schmooze up to you, they want to gain your confidence, and then they will start to say things about other people that aren't true, that's gossip, that are lies. Now that takes discernment, and that's a lot harder to know, because oftentimes I'll have people reach out to me and they'll say, oh yeah, my spouse, they're a Jezebel, you know, and you feel sorry for them right away, especially if it's a woman. It seems like women are better at manipulating men because they can act all sweet and stuff, and guys can do that same thing with Jezebel to women. I'll say that too. But again, I've only been a guy. I've never been transgendered. I've never been a woman, never felt like being one. I am a guy, and so I have women that will try to say, oh, poor me, please feel sorry for me because my husband's a Jezebel. I've had this, I'd say probably 20% of the time, when in reality, they're the ones that were the Jezebel. And it wasn't until I actually started to either have more conversations with them that I picked up on it, or I remember one situation, I was invited to come to the house, to stay at the house, and after I lived with them for like a week, I could see it as plain as the tree in front of my face. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how she would make this up and lie. But that's what the spirits do. So there, some additional insight there. All right, so what Bible character listened to a threat from a person with demons and entertained her words in his thoughts and mind, which resulted in him having great fear and wasted his time? None other than Elijah, who actually did one of the greatest miracles in Bible history by calling fire down from heaven to burn up his water-soaked altar, and then afterward killed all of Jezebel's prophets, 850 of them. Then one word sent from Jezebel. So after he did this amazing, great miracle, which, by the way, they need to make a movie about Elijah and Jezebel. There's been a couple that have been started, but they have not come out yet. And I'm like, oh. And I kept telling my good friend Robia, I'm like, oh, Robia, you would be a great Jezebel. And she's like, don't you ever say that. I'm like, no, I'm just saying you're a great actress, you know. You did that in like a Cruella de Vil when you were in Unplanned. In fact, Robia is going to be in a movie about sex trafficking that's going to be filmed this fall. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be powerful. Yay. Getting people set free and delivered from that industry. All right, so after Elijah had called the fire down, burned up the altar, and then he killed 850 of Jezebel's Baal prophets and Asherah prophets, then all it took was one word from Jezebel. So he got it delivered through a messenger. And again, what he should have done is just not received it and said, nope, not going to listen. Send it on back to Jezzy. Not going to listen to it. But he didn't. He listened. And it caused him to have fear. And he ran into the desert, in the wilderness. Actually asked God to kill him. So I'm going to read that section called 1 Kings 18, 16. So 1 Kings, chapter 18, verse 16 through 1 Kings 19, verse 18. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. Again, remember, Obadiah didn't want to actually go get Ahab because he was afraid that he was going to die. because of Jezebel and the threats and the things she did to kill the prophets and so forth. But Elijah said, hello, Obadiah, go out there and go grab Ahab, and I'm going to meet with him. So, verse 17, again, 1 Kings 18, verse 17. Then it happened, when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said to him, is that you, O troubler of Israel? Well, just think right there. That's what they're doing to Trump. Is they're lying about him, calling him a troubler, he's a racist, he's a this or that, he's a woman abuser. That's what demons do, is they will lie about you. And you got to have tough skin. You know, my skin has gotten tougher over the last couple of years than where I was at back in 2008. You know, I couldn't have handled going through what I'm going through here in the last 5 years if I had not gone through the groundwork. Same thing with Trump, is he could not be doing the things he's doing had he not gone through what he went through in the past. Again, he's dramatically changed man from when he, prior to taking office, to where he's at now, today. In fact, his former photographer, Gene Ho, got to meet him, got to interview him. He became a Christian because of Trump. He used to be for the Clintons and stuff, and he was a world-class photographer, still is. And after he observed being around Trump for, I think it was 16 months, something like that, during when they're going on tour, and then after he became president, and he observed him, and he's like, my gosh, his actions are amazing. His actions are very godly. He is not the way that the press is portraying him. He's got a heart for people. And so he became a Christian because of that. So how cool is that? You can watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. If you want to go back and search, go out to Nelson Schumann, and then it'll be on my interviews. All right, so Obadiah went to meet Ahab, told Ahab, and then Ahab saw Elijah, said, is that you, O troubler of Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel. Elijah said that. But you and your father's house have, and that you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord and have followed the Baals. Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel. I've been there on Mount Carmel. I've seen it. It's really windy, way up on high. That's where the battle took place of. I saw the statue of Elijah there too. So cool. You can overlook the Megiddo, where the Armageddon, the last war, is going to be fought. And I could just feel the presence of the Lord when I was there. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to come back here. And then you could see the Mediterranean Sea in the distance, where the cloud, the size of a man's hand, came over after the showdown. All right. Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent for all the children of Israel, and gathered the prophets together on Mount Carmel. And Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. So he's giving them an option. Well, that's cool. But the people answered him not. They were probably a little afraid, because if they're going to follow God, maybe Jezebel might kill them. That's probably what's going through their minds. Then Elijah said to the people, I alone am left a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Therefore let them give us 2 bulls, let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. And I will prepare the other bull, and lay it on the wood, but put no fire under it. Then you call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God who answers by fire, he is God. So all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. Good job, Elijah. Now Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, choose 1 bull for yourselves, and prepare it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire under it. So they took the bull which was given them, and they prepared it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even till noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, no one answered. Then they leaped about the altar which they had made. And so it was at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he is sleeping and must be awakened. So isn't it interesting that Elijah the prophet was mocking the enemy? You think about that with President Trump. How many times does he mock those that come against him? And a lot of times people are like, they go off and say, he shouldn't be saying that or doing that or tweeting that. You know, well, Elijah did it. Did he not? He did. Isn't that interesting? So they cried aloud and cut themselves, as was their custom, with knives and lances, until the blood gushed out on them. And when midday was past, they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice. But there was no voice, no one answered, no one paid attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come near to me." So all the people came near to him. And he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, "Israel shall be your name." Then with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he made a trench around the altar large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. And he put the wood in order, cut the bull in pieces, and laid it on the wood, and said, "Fill 4 water pots with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood." Then he said, "Do it a second time." And they did it a second time. Then he said, "Do it a third time." Can you imagine at that point, people are like, "Really? Are you crazy, Elijah? You're putting 3 water parts of water on there? It's never going to catch fire." So the water ran all around the altar and also filled the trench with water. And it came to pass, in fact, I remember when I was a little boy, my mom read me that story. We had like the Arch books. I think it was called Arch. I don't think it was Archway. Those were cookies, I believe. But we had those too. But I think it was the Arch books, and she had all these Bible stories. And I always remember when she read me that about Elijah and how cool that it was to actually see it. Because, you know, when I'm reading the Bible, it really just describes it. But to actually see a picture of it was really cool. So, all right. That just got triggered in me. That's a healthy trigger, healthy memory. Wouldn't you like to have memories and triggers of good things and healthy things and not bad things that have happened to us? It's so peaceful. All right. So, it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, "Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel, and I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that you are the Lord God, and that you have turned their hearts back to you again." Then the fire of the Lord fell. Man, can you imagine watching that? That'd be like up on top of Pikes Peak, right there. And you end up making an altar there, and all of a sudden, whoosh, fire comes down from heaven. Bam! And it burns everything up. Oh my gosh. So then fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones. It burnt up the stones. Did you know that? Did you realize that? And the dust. And it licked up the water that was in the trench. Now when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces. No kidding. I would think they would fall on their faces. I would hope they would. And they said, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." And Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let one of them escape." So they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and executed them there. Okay, there are people who are doing very evil things today, oftentimes related to Baal, and part of Baal is Moloch. Moloch is taking babies and killing them. There's a lot of people that have been killing babies. Of course, there's abortion that we are hoping and praying that that comes to an end soon in America. In large part thanks to the movie Unplanned that my friend Robia was in. You know, that's a tremendous life-changing movie if you haven't watched that, because it shows how it really is. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these Planned Parenthoods get shut down. But you see all of this evil that is going on, where people are drinking the blood of tortured children. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. That is called adrenochrome, where they drink the blood of kids that are 8 and under. And there's people in Hollywood that do that. There's wealthy people that are doing that. So, you know, if you've done any research whatsoever about what President Trump's looking to do, he's to bring them to justice. And some of them might be executed. That means they could die, because pedophilia and hurting God's children is not cool. That is perverse and that is demonic. So Elijah seized the prophets of Baal and he executed them. All right. Then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain." So Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, Mount Carmel. Then he bowed down on the ground and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, "Go up now, look toward the sea." So he went up and looked and said, "There's nothing." And then 7 times he said, "Go again." Then it came to pass the 7th time that he said, "There is a cloud as small as a man's hand rising out of the sea." And I remember seeing the Mediterranean Sea when I was there. It was like, oh my gosh, I want to see a cloud rising size of a man's hand. In fact, it's mostly cloudy right here with the mountains behind me. All right, now it happened. Oh wait, then it came to pass the seventh time that he said, there is a cloud as small as a man's hand rising out of the sea. So he said, go up, say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down before the rain stops you. Now it happened in the meantime that the sky became black with clouds and wind, and there was a heavy rain. So Ahab rode away and went to Jezreel. Then the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. So he outran his chariot. Well, that's a supernatural cool thing that just happened after he called the fire of heaven down. So you would think at that point, Elijah is like, I'm the man, I'm the man. Look what happened, that was pretty darn cool. But one word from a person that has the spirit of Jezebel can cause a person to get into fear. And that's what happens in society. That's what's been happening for the last, who knows, forever. Is it takes one person that threatens you and causes you to get into fear, and then you run. So this is what happens. It says, and Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, also how he had executed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, so let the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow, about this time. And when he saw that, so again, he read the message, shouldn't have read the message. He arose and ran for his life, and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he prayed that he might die, and said, it is enough. Now, Lord, take my life, for I am no better than my fathers. So a lot of you have dealt with people who have the spirit of Jezebel, who have controlled, manipulated you, and have threatened you. And when you try to finally break free, they will potentially even start to now lie about you to your friends and your family, and say things that never ever happened, or embellish. And you feel like oftentimes wanting to die, just like Elijah did. I know what that feels like. I had those feelings when I went through my experiences with Jezebels, and it's not fun. But to gain an anointing over the demonic world is we all have to go through that process. We have to overcome it, and what you overcome, you have an anointing over. If you don't overcome it and you end up submitting to it and bowing down to it, then you never will have the calling that the Lord has for your life fulfilled. So, there, thus saith the Lord. Alrighty, next. Then as he lay and slept under a broom tree, suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, arise and eat. Then he looked, and there by his head was a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came back the second time, touched him, and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you. So he rose and ate and drank, and he went into the strength of that food for 40 days and 40 nights, as far as Horeb, the mountain of God. And there he went into a cave and spent the night in that place. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? So he said, I've been very zealous for the Lord of God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they seek to take my life. Then God said, go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire a still small voice. So it was, when Elijah heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. Suddenly a voice came to him and said, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very zealous for the Lord of God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they seek to take my life. Then the Lord said to him, go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, anoint Hazael as king over Syria. Also you shall anoint Jehu, the son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. And Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Mahalah, you shall anoint as prophet in your place. It shall be that whoever escapes the sword of Hazael, Jehu will kill, and whoever escapes the sword of Jehu, Elisha will kill. Yet I have reserved 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. So, there you go. When Jezebel does speak to you, don't be afraid. Don't run away. And you would think, in the case of Elijah, that he would have been the man and he wouldn't have been afraid. But Elijah, like a lot of us, will get a word spoken to us by a person that will threaten us and say, I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to tell people about this and lie about this about you. And then they end up getting you to bow down and doing what they want. So, people who are able to operate the most effectively as spiritual leaders in the Bible became adept at ignoring the threats of their time-wasting nemesis. So let's think about Nehemiah, for instance. There was a conspiracy against Nehemiah. Conspiracy. We've been hearing that word a lot. So there's a conspiracy. And I'm going to read this. This is Nehemiah 6, 1 through 15. It says, Now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at that time I had not hung the doors and the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, again, they're sending. Jezebel always seems to send a message to a person to read or to hear, saying, Come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me harm. So he knew what they were up to was no good. So I sent messengers to them, saying, I am doing a great work so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? But they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. So 4 times. So Jezebel, people that have Jezebel will continue to try to wear you down over and over and over again until you give in to them. You think about Samson and Delilah. Delilah wore him down over and over and over again until he finally told the truth about what gave him strength. You know, what kind of a numbskull would do that? Hello, the Philistines are upon you, the Philistines are upon you. Over and over, he kept finally giving in to her. So keep that in mind, is the enemy and people will try to wear you down over and over and over again to get you to do what they want. Don't do it, just say no. So, but they sent me this message 4 times and answered them in the same manner. Then Sanballat sent a servant to me as before the 5th time with an open letter in his hand. In it was written, It is reported among the nations, and Geshem says, that you and the Jews plan to rebel. Therefore, according to these rumors, you are rebuilding the wall that you may be their king. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, There is a king in Judah. Now these matters will be reported to the king. So come, therefore, and let us consult together. Then I sent to him, saying, No such things as you say are being done, but you invent them in your own heart. For all they were trying to do was to make us afraid, saying, Their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterward I came to the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mahedapel, who was a secret informer. And he said, Let us meet together in the house of God within the temple, and let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you. Indeed, at night they will come to kill you. And I said, Should such a man as I flee? And who is there such as I who would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. Then I perceived that God had not sent him at all, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me, because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. For this reason he was hired, that I should be afraid and act that way in sin, so that they might have cause for an evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, remember Tobiah and Sanballat according to their works, and the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. And then verse 15, so the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elul in 52 days. So again, don't bow down to people who are trying to lure you in and lie about you and cause you to feel fear and be threatened. Stand strong like Nehemiah did and finish your wall. So what governmental leader do we know today who has had much opposition in building a protective wall to keep out the bad guys and is being lied about and threatened? Who do you think? Maybe President Donald Trump. He has had to deal with the most opposition of probably anyone in world history and has yet persevered through to accomplish many great things for the people of the United States, including building and completing 200 miles so far of a wall between U.S. and Mexico. President Trump is also bringing law and justice into the land to stop those with demons who would try and continue to cause fear, division, and hurt good people. So we need to not waste another minute on people who have demons and want to keep them, as they will do nothing but wear you out and exhaust you so that you cannot accomplish anything for the Lord in your life. Just say no. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I had planned, but I think it was a good message. And again, tonight I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live and a Zoom. You can watch it. I'm going to share it on my Facebook personal and my profile, or my profile and my ministry page. And it's a roundtable discussion about what the Lord's saying to me and some others that for the end of the year, between now and the end of the year. My good friend Doug Steed invited me to that just a few minutes before I started the Facebook Live today. So that starts at 7:30 Eastern Time. And then tomorrow at 6:30 local time here in Colorado Springs, I will be at Faith Chapel, which is at 1824 Dominion Way, and it's for a ministry called the Wild Branch Ministry, Pastor Jim Pierce. Looking forward to that tomorrow night. First time ever doing ministry corporately in Colorado, so it's going to be groundbreaking. Yay, breakthrough. Alrighty, I will let you guys go. Have an awesome weekend. Love you guys. See ya. Bye-bye.